Hello, this is our financial statement analysis between Inditex, the parent company of Zara, and Hans & Moritz, the parent company of H&M. These two companies are the two biggest fast fashion company in the world, and our group members are Lin Han, Yan Kunjing, and Wang Zhenhong. And this is our agenda. We will analyze the background of fast fashion industry, Zara and H&M, and in the second part, we will do balance sheet analysis first, and followed by income statement analysis. In the third part, we will do financial ratio analysis, and in the end, we will do conclusion. The first part, background analysis. Let's take a look at fast fashion industry. Its business mode is different from general fast fashion industry cycle of 4 to 9 months. Its business cycle only takes a few weeks, and it consists of designing, producing products, warehousing, and selling clothes to make revenue. And data is also key for the industry to grasp trends and quickly adjust its strategies. In 2018, ultra fast fashion and e-commerce are the two big competitors for the fast fashion industry, and also environmental awareness changed how consumers think of fast fashion industry. In 2020, COVID-19 pandemic make people not able to go outside of their home, and the macroeconomic situation is not so good for consumption. So in these 2 years, fast fashion industry faced great threats.
First, let us introduce the Inditex Group. Inditex is a Spanish multinational clothing company established in 1985. Its headquarters are still located in Spain. The company's main business involves clothing, design, production, and sales. Before the pandemic, it had over 7,000 stores worldwide, but after the breakouts, Inditex changed its strategy and reduced the number of stores to around 5,600. Its flagship brand is Zara, but in addition to Zara, it also owns many other well-known sub-brands, such as Zara Home, Bershka, Massimo Dutti, Osho, Pull&Bear, Stradivarius, Utrecht, and Lefties. Inditex's brand promise is to be quick at responding to the markets. This demonstrates how much Inditex values responding to market trend with its products. The main business strategies include the following points. Number one, market segmentation. Inditex launches many sub-brands to target specific customer groups and segment the markets. For example, Zara's target customers are young people who are highly concerned with fashion trends. Since their performance change quickly and are hard to predict, Zara aims to produce clothing that keep up with the latest trends to quickly respond their target customers' needs. Number two, fast respond to the market, also known as fast fashion. Zara does not produce classic clothes which never go out of style. Instead, they aim for a short product life cycle, both in the store and in the customer's wardrobe. This means Zara enthusiasts know that if they see something they like, they need to buy it right now, as it might be as it might not be available next time. These customers also know they need to visit the store frequently because new items are constantly being introduced. Zara's clothes are not primarily marketed for durability. They claim the clothes are meant to be worn only 10 times, encouraging customers to continuously purchase new products. Zara's customers visit the store an average of 17 times a year, compared to 4 times a year for competitors' customers. Number three, deeply cultivating the European market. Unlike other clothing companies that produce first world fashion in third world factories, 80% of Zara's production is carried out in Europe. From sourcing raw materials to production, everything is completed at its headquarters in Spain and neighboring countries. Nearly half of the production is done in its own factories or in controlled factories, enable Zara to produce at a much faster pace and in smaller batches compared to its competitors. Number four, e-commerce. In 2016, Inditex officially launches its e-commerce website globally and has been continuously expanding them. After the pandemic breakout, consumer behavior drastically changed, and Inditex quickly adapted. Firstly, they significantly reduced the number of stores due to the poor performance of basic stores during the pandemic. They closed many stores to save costs. They also continue to promote and expand e-commerce, which allowed them to quickly recover after the pandemic.
H&M is a major player in the global retail industry, with a presence in over 4,338 stores worldwide. Founded in 1947 and headquartered in Stockholm, Sweden. Beyond just H&M itself, the company also owns several other clothing brands, including COS and other stories, Cheap Monday, Monkey, or Weekday. And H&M's brand promise is to make fashion accessible and enjoyable for all, which means that it is a company targeting fashion-conscious customers looking for on-trend styles at affordable prices. There are three major factors that push the company's performance to another level. First, H&M is a master of visual marketing, utilizing images and videos to keep their exposure fresh and up to date. They frequently update their fashion trend blogs, release seasonal dressing guides, offer sneak peeks of new products, and put extra effort into collecting backstage reports, releasing behind-the-scenes footage from the Fashion Week, so that consumers can receive a variety of information about fashion and brands in a timely manner, and build a close relationship with consumers. Secondly, H&M often collaborates with famous designers such as Karl Lagerfeld and Alexander Wang, or launches events with prizes to encourage consumers to participate enthusiastically, all of which have successfully created a variety of topics. Sometimes they also use celebrity strategies, such as collaborating with celebrities like Lady Gaga and David Beckham. Unlike traditional fashion brands, the company is more of a follower of the fashion than a creator, aiming to achieve high fashion at low cost through design. Third, H&M, like many fast fashion brands, does not directly own factories, but instead contracts with garment factories in low-wage regions like Southeast Asia to mass-produce a variety of clothing and keep costs down, which is good on the one hand. However, on the other hand, this production strategy has also been criticized for exploitation potential to exploit workers and create poor working conditions. H&M has faced criticism from these issues in the past. For example, some workers earn wages that are below the minimum wage in their countries. They may also have been reported to work long hours, often with overtime pay that is not enough to compensate for the extra time worked. What's worse, some H&M factories have been found to have unsafe working conditions, such as a lack of fire safety measures and exposure to dangerous chemicals. Moreover, H&M's production strategy has also been criticized for its environmental impact. The company has been accused of using unsustainable practices, such as excessive water usage and pollution. H&M has also been criticized for its contribution to the problem of textile waste. Third, in recent years, H&M has taken some steps to address these environmental concerns, such as setting goals for increasing its use of sustainable materials. H&M is also the first global fashion retailer to launch a garment collecting program in all stores. H&M has incorporated sustainability into their strategy. They are working to make their production more environmentally friendly. As for the competition part, there are other two brands which threaten H&M, Shein and Uniqlo. Compared to Shein's clear positioning as a low-cost brand, or Zara's stylish clothing, and Uniqlo's high-quality basics, H&M's position is rather awkward, putting its business in a difficult situation. In addition, Shein's low-cost pricing has put even more pressure on H&M. H&M cannot compete directly on price with Shein, but also cannot afford to raise its price too much, as this would make it less competitive with Zara and Uniqlo.
In the second part, we will do balance sheet and income statement analysis. Let's take a look at balance sheet. For this page, we can see the assets of two companies. For the left side is Inditex, and for the right side is H&B. And you can see the green ones are current assets, and the purple ones are non-current assets, and the lines are YoY growth. We can compare the two graphs, and you can see that in current assets, Inditex has more cash than H&M, and H&M has more inventories. And this may mean that H&M is not so good at managing its inventories or business cycle, but we will discuss it in the third part, which is financial ratio analysis. And for Inditex, that is in the left, you can see that from 2014 to 2017, the assets grow consistently, but in 2018, the growth slowed down. This reflects the news we mentioned above that in 2018, e-commerce and the change in consumption patterns, but we will discuss it in the income statement part. Okay, then you can see in 2019, the growth of non-current assets is faster. That is because the adoption of IFRS 16, which make every company to do lease financing. And 2020 is COVID-19 pandemic. And for the right side, H&M, the situation is also the same, but you can see that in 2020, the growth of non-current assets is bigger than Inditex. It means that it rent more things than Inditex. Okay. But H&M dropped a little bit in 2019 and the year after 2022 and 2023. That may not be a good news. And then for accounts payable and short-term and long-term debts, you can see that for the left side, accounts payable, Inditex has more accounts payable than H&M, and for the right side, Inditex is on the upside. I think this page shows that the bargaining power of accounts payable, Inditex is better than H&M, but H&M try hard to lend money like from the bank to do its financing system. Yeah. And for this page, it shows lease liability. And like we mentioned about in 2019 or 2020, they adopt IFRS 16. But you can also see that in 2021, the growth is minus. That means that they make their lease liability smaller than the last year. That reflects the COVID-19 pandemic make the consumption environment worse. But after 2021, the growth is somehow better than before. And for this page, the left graph show PP&E, and the right one show inventories. For the left one, you can see that from 2015 to 2017, they both Inditex and H&M grows consistently, but in 2018 and 2019, like we mentioned above, the environment is not so good, so PP&E is the growth is a minus. And after 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic, the YOY growth is also minus, but it become better in recent years. And for the right one, inventories, you can also see between 2015 to 2017. For inventories, it drops at 2019, and also after COVID-19 pandemic. These may reflect the bad situation the fast fashion industry face. And for this part, we will do income statement analysis. And for revenue and gross profit analysis, we can see that for dark one is Inditex, and for slide one is H&M. And you can see that not only revenue but also gross profit, Inditex is better than H&M. And you can also see in 2020, they are not so good. And for operating income and net income, you can see more clearly that the YOY growth Inditex is way more better than H&M. The growth of H&M is usually bad.
In the third section, we analyze financial ratios of these two companies, including test of liquidity, test of efficiency, test of solvency and equity position, and test of profitability. Starting with test of liquidity, we will examine the short-term debt paying ability and immediate liquidity of these two companies using the current ratio and cash ratio. From the perspective of the current ratio, H&M was likely higher than Inditex in 2015. However, by 2017, H&M's current ratio had fallen below that of Inditex. Inditex continued to maintain the ratio between 1.5 and 2, while H&M showed a significant decline. Looking at the cash ratio, Inditex consistently stayed around 1.1 to 1.3, whereas H&M experienced a notable drop from 2015 to 2017 and subsequently maintained a ratio between 0.2 and 0.5. From these two ratios, it is evident that H&M's immediate liquidity and short-term debt paying ability are both inferior and more unstable compared to Inditex. Next, let's look at the test of efficiency. In this session, we won't consider the average age of receivables because both companies are retailers and usually receive cash at the time of the transaction, so we won't examine their receivable management. For the average day supply in inventory, we see that Inditex has maintained between 70 and 100 days each year, while H&M has been between 100 days and 115 days. A common feature of these two companies is that they typically produce small quantities of each item with many styles, so large inventory buildups are uncommon, and stockouts of popular items are frequent. In terms of sales speed, Inditex has a slight edge. Looking at the average days of payables, Inditex usually maintains between 120 and 140 days, but it rose above 160 days in 2020. This reminds us of previous news reports that Zara delaying payments. On the other hand, H&M ranges between 20 and 70 days. This reflects that, in terms of financial statements, Inditex performs well and has a stable financial position. Suppliers have more confidence in Inditex, which results in stronger bargaining power for Inditex. This allows Inditex to extend its payment period, thereby better managing cash flow. Now let's look at the test of solvency and equity position. Regarding the debt to equity ratio, Inditex had very low ratio before 2020. It suddenly rose somewhat in 2020, but then gradually declining again, indicating that the company mainly relies on shareholders' equity for funding, with that being a short-term adjustment strategy in response to the pandemic. H&M, on the other hand, did not have a high debt-to-equity ratio before 2020, but it surged after 2020, slightly declined in 2022, and then rose again the following year, showing an increasing reliance on debts in its financial statements. For times interest earned, Inditex maintained a ratio between 300 and 500 between 2020, with little variation. After a drop in 2020, it has remained stable. H&M had a ratio of about 100 and 600 in 2015, peaked in 2017, and then plummeted in 2018. And currently, it is about the same as Inditex. This indicates that before 2020, H&M had a much higher ability to cover interest payments compared to Inditex. But after 2020, the two companies are similarly. Both companies' long-term solvency has declined, but H&M's decline has been more pronounced, like likely related to their post-pandemic debt strategy.
Higher gross margins than H&M through both experienced fluctuations. Inditex gross margin declined in 2018 but recovered, while HMBS's was more stable. For operating profit ratio, ITX generally outperformed but both showed volatility. Both suffered sharp declines around 2020 due to COVID-19, though Inditex recovered faster than the lower performing HMBSS. And both Inditex and HMBSS exhibit fluctuations in their ROA, return on assets, with Inditex generally showing higher values. ITX experienced a significant peak in ROA around 2018, followed by a gradual decline. HMBSS, on the other hand, maintained a more stable ROA trend, with a slight increase towards the end of the period. The ROE chart measures the profitability of a company in relation to the equity invested by shareholders. ITX displayed a higher ROE compared to HMBSS for most of the period. However, both companies experienced significant volatility, with ITX showing a sharp decline in ROE around 2019 and a subsequent recovery. HMBSS, while generally lower in ROE, exhibited a more consistent trend. ITS earnings per share fluctuated with a decline in 2016 but peaked in 2022, while HMBSS has a more stable, gradually increasing EPS. Both showed volatility in sustainable growth rates. ITS has a sharp decline in 2017, followed by recovery, then another drop in 2023. HMBSS exhibited a similar pattern with notable dips in 13 years. Overall, all these two companies faced the challenge from COVID-19, but only Inditex conquered the obstacles, because the way they put themselves in the right position provides more stylish products with higher prices. On the other hand, HMB is still struggling. The firm is facing declining sales and mounting cost pressures fueled by worldwide inflationary forces. Furthermore, by addressing ESG factors, H&M and Inditex is trying to contribute to a more sustainable and responsible fashion industry, and potentially enhance their long-term competitiveness and reputation.
The difference of the product between H&M and ultra fashion brand are not so big, but the price of ultra fast fashion is really low, so H&M cannot compete them. So we think this is why Inditex do better than H&M. We also want to highlight that ESG factors like environmental protection is the next task for a fast fashion industry to work on, because people are more willing to want to know that, oh, you are fast fashion and are you good at environmental protecting? So that will be a question for also both Inditex and H&M to face. And that's our report. Thank you very much.